galaxy is burning. Brother fights brother, and treason splits the Imperium of man. This is the Age of Darkness. Welcome to the Remembrancers retreat, coming to you from within the depths of the vengeful spirit.
Hello and welcome to the Remembrancers retreat. I am Austin. I'm here with Jesse.
What's up?
Mike.
Hey.
The other guy. No, he's Steven. We love Steven. And we are here because we are super goddamn excited. That is right, boys and girls. Plastic Assault Marines. Woo!
Yes.
Yeah, Plastic Assault Marines.
Finally.
10 individual poses. Chain axes, bolt pistols, power axes, plasma pistols. Get excited. And you know what's even doubly more exciting than that?
What's that, Austin?
The little bastards are 8 millimeters tall.
Command squad.
There we go.
Fantastic. As Austin said, this is the Remembrancers Retreat, a Legions Imperialis podcast.
Woo!
Yeah, tonight we are talking all about the new epic that is not called epic. Legions Imperialis. I think we can fill an episode of just
It's
talking
epic
about
scale.
this. What do you guys think? I think we can do that.
yes. Firm yes.
It's going to be
We're
good.
gonna.
Yeah. All right, but before we begin, as always,
Yeah.
I'm going to say hi to our patrons. So I'm behind, but I feel like I'm going to post this one real soon before the other two that we've recorded. So it's going to get a little bit weird, but I'm going to thank the patrons who have recently joined us since the last time I put an episode on the air. So there's going to be some doubling thanks and whatever, but I don't care. You all know who you are. Thank you very much. Starting with our Legion Sergeants, Bulfarius, Fulsidax Monstrosa, Nick Hilda, and Andrew Watts. Thank you for being Legion Sergeants. We have our Legion Praetors, Michael Tisdall and Joe Geiger. Thank you very much. And our Legion Flexomancers. We have some new Legion Flexomancers. Daniel, Edvin Ullman, Variance Hammer, Alex Self twice because he said he forgot. It was as our oldest patron member since the time before time. We'll give you 2 shout outs for that one. And Chris Kymek. And our other Legion Flexomancers. Good God, I don't know how to do this. So I'm just going to go through them all. Alex Self, Andrew N., Chaplanisar, Chris Kymek, Chris Mack, Daniel, Edvin Ullman, Real Snice, Rena the Floof, and Variance Hammer. Thank you all for being Legion Flexomancers. I don't know how stuff works, but we greatly appreciate it. Thanks for being a supporter of our program. All right, and now back to Tiny Ass Marines.
Oh, Jesse. It's not just tiny ass Marines.
You're right.
Far be it from
Yes.
any of us to say this is just tiny ass Marines. No, sir. We have tiny solar auxilia. We've been promised tiny mechanicum. We have brand new weapons for the Warhound Titan. We got a whole damn new unit for solar auxilia. Truly,
A new
truly keeps on
exclusive
giving.
tiny unit.
Yeah.
Quick interjection. There was also an actual 30K reveal. Do we want to talk about that for like 30 seconds?
Yes, and it is a real good one. So go ahead. We can knock that out.
Acting like I know what it was. It was some
It was
night or
nice.
another.
It was
It was a night. It was
a
yeah.
Cerastus, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
That's on my
Cerastus
Cerastus.
chassis.
in plastic. And I
Bigger
believe
than a Marine and smaller than a Titan. I don't care about it.
rude. But yeah, it's a plastic Cerastus. Can make both the standard variants, I think, out of the one kit. At least that's the opinion, the feeling I got, rather than make you buy like 2 different kits.
I'd have to double check, but potentially. I would definitely like to see how the Cerastus chassis is put together plastic-wise. Because the Lancer was the first one revealed. I don't think it's out yet, though, right?
No.
Judging from the fact that Titanicus has a box of Lancers and then a box of Castigators and Acherons, and it's probably just an upscaled version of the CAD file. We'll probably get the War Crime Knights in one box and then the Honor Knight in another box.
I don't know. It could, because you'd have to break down the sprue more on a big version. So it might just be, hey, here's your sprue for like the chassis, here's the sprue for the armor, here's the Warcrime Knight sprue, and here's the Lance and Shield sprue. Because they've been doing that, I say recently, but like for the last few years, if something comes in a variant where they used to sell 2 different versions, they now just upcharge you $20 and throw it all together.
Yeah. We'll have to see.
Which, you know, good and bad.
Yeah. I think there was like someone take a picture. I guess they got a sprue by accident of the Archeron, I think. I need to go back and look to see what else was on there. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
But looking at the two, they have 2 separate like ammo feeds. I don't know. There might be enough weapons difference where it might be 2 different things, but I'll try to investigate further and find out.
Yeah. In any case, good news for anyone who's wanted Cerastus in plastic.
Yeah.
And it looks
will
like
be
the legs,
significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
And if I had to
easier
guess,
to
it
put
looks
together.
like the legs are fully posable as well.
Yeah, they did in the review. They did talk a lot about like the posability of the kit, and like even that ammo feed for the Gatling blaster is allegedly mobile enough that any way you can pose that arm, you can get the ammo feed to it, which is great.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Oh,
I wonder if it's like segmented to where you can like.
Yeah,
Ooh.
'cause that's one of my complaints, like really my only complaint about the Titanicus Titans is that the cabling kind of makes your arm posing static, which is why most people don't bother with it, myself included.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can fake that at 6mm. At 28, you kind of need all the parts there. But yeah, it's a cool kit. Not as cool as Tiny War Crimes, though.
It is not as cool as Tiny War Crimes.
So, as a quick update before we get started, it looks like I have the Archeron here. The sprue itself looks like a single weapon sprue for just the Archeron. I don't see the other one for the I don't see any weapons of the Castigator on that particular sprue, but that doesn't mean that they don't have both of them in there somewhere. So we'll see. Remains to be seen.
I'm sure we will find
Fair
out whenever
enough.
these release.
Yeah. But anyways,
So I don't even know where to begin on this. I don't even know.
Do we
From
want to
the
go
start.
article by article?
We're dive in. We just dive in.
Okay.
I guess with the thing of it. So the first important thing is it deploys in August. August.
yeah, it's like
They are
next month, sons
not
of bitches.
fucking around. Right? Prepare your souls. Here we go. Just right in it.
Now, it could be
It
August
says-
30th. Could be August
could.
1st. You don't know.
It could. I would assume later in the month, and I really, but the beautiful thing about this is, as long as it stays August, it's gonna be at Nova.
So, something I want to mention is that GW has a long history of saying that something is going to be available for us to order, say, in August. And that means it goes on pre-order the very last weekend.
It does, but
Technically, it comes out in September.
we also have a very long tradition of GW doing things like that. And on pre-order weekend, if there's a major event going on, they'll just have some.
That is a very good point.
You just get it. So come to Nova. There's still AT tickets. get yourself some Legions Imperialis. But it does, looking at the release, that seems to be it that's coming out, at least that first weekend. Which I guess is in keeping with what else, like kind of their usual releases
Yeah.
for kind of their third rail game systems. But it is a ton of stuff. Box has the look of kind of like the Horus Heresy big box size wise, classic starter set. Probably going to be, what was the Heresy starter box set?
It was $299 USD, if I remember.
Yeah, like about 300.
Hard to say with this one.
Yeah, hard to say. Hard to
is like
say
on
if
a
it'll hit
different
that
scale.
number. Yeah.
It's not like it's a huge box of super intricate pieces. I'm assuming most of those models are going to be on one piece or the other. But
We'll,
you got the 2 Warhounds.
yeah, so there are 223 miniatures is what you get in the box. There's Space Marines, Solar Auxilia, and a couple of Warhound Titans. And it's broken down 106 Space Marine infantry, 101 Space Marine infantry and 4 dreadnoughts, 5 tanks, 3 predators, and 2 Sicarans. And it has been confirmed that they will have different weapon options on them.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know if that
a lot of
includes sponsons, but at least the turrets will be different. And you can see in the photos, the Sicarans are kind of the standard, and I think the Annihilator, the one with the twin plasma. On top of that, you have 101 Solar Auxilia infantry, to include some Carnodon Ogrins, and 4 walkers, which are brand new walkers that I'm sure we'll get into here in a bit. And then 6 Solar Auxilia tanks, 4 Lehman Russes, and 2 Malcadors. They only mentioned different turret weapons, so I don't know what that means for the Malcadors, because they have a turret, but it's a limited traverse. It's not a full thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the Malcadors, I think, weren't shown any differently. I think the Russes, there's a couple of Vanquishers and a couple of standard Russes. So who knows quite where the variation there is. But they are great little minis. And then you get 2 Titans with some brand new weapon options.
Yes.
It's just so good. And they have confirmed that the new weapon options will have rules for AT.
Hooray. Oh, wait, really?
Yes, they have confirmed that.
Yep. They will have rules in AT, and they are plastic.
And it is plastic. Some of these are things we've seen before. So they've got Ursus Cause, Natrix Shock Lance, Volkite Eradicator, all in plastic.
Oh, for the Warhound.
For the Warhounds.
I thought you were talking about for the little guys. I got really...
No, that's to be a little crazy.
Yeah.
Although, there's some missile launcher dudes in there, so you want your Titan Hunter infantry, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also has a missile pod with a choice of Swarmer or Shudder missiles, which I can only hope means there are also going to be pod arms for the Reavers. Because the missile pod arm for the Warhound has been a thing, but it was also kind of a classic loadout for Reavers and Warlords. So hopefully you just be able to missile them up. And an incisor pattern Melta Lance, which just seems delightful because that's kind of the one standard weapon the Hounds have been missing, a little Melta war crime. So they've got that, which is delightful.
I'm really excited for that Melta for AT.
Oh, right.
It's exactly what I've wanted for my Hounds and haven't had. Something that'll let me get in close and cut apart bigger Titans.
And I will say, there hasn't been any word on what this means. So this is all the same scale as Titanicus and Aeronautica Imperialis. They haven't said what this game means for Titanicus. Is it going to be one of those things like, hey, we're stopping supporting Titanicus and this is the new tiny thing? Or if they're going to be still ongoing with Titanicus? Don't know.
Hard to say.
Almost don't care. And I say that as somebody who's running 2 events of AT at Nova and love AT. The game is real good. And it's in a real good spot. And I feel like if you keep fucking with it, you can only make it work, right? We're getting to the point of limited returns.
Sure.
I'd love one more book that has Corrupted Knights that they've been teasing for 6 books now.
They don't have those yet.
They don't have Corrupted Knights yet. So,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
They also don't have the Ordo Sinister outside of Warlord patterns.
Yes, and they did hint that was also going to be a thing. So if you gave me a book that had both of those, I would be completely happy.
I could see
if
that.
GW announced, hey, that's we're going to keep making the models because we're doing it for Epic or Legions Imperialis, but we're done doing new rules for Titanicus.
Wrap up Titanicus with a Siege of Terra. Campaign book.
I would love that.
That would wrap up what you guys are looking for. Honestly,
I was about to say more campaign books is the only thing I'd want, and honestly, Terra's the big one left.
Right?
Yep. And because they have literally the campaign compendium out now that came out this year. They have the match play book, which is great. Like, I think we've talked about this before, but they pretty much have a fully encompassed, solid game system.
They've got everything, and
done.
you could.
It is baked and ready, and all you have to do now is put toppings on it.
Yeah, like you could bring me a Rapier class Scout Titan, I'd be delighted. You could give me a Komodo, a Titan, I'd be delighted. But the game is in a really, really good spot, and it kind of it makes me think where it is now, kind of where BFG was when they let BFG kind of die, or not die, but like they stopped supporting it, where the rules are very good. There's an excellent community for it. If you keep putting new rules on it, it'll eventually just become more bloat than excitement. So if this is kind of like, we're going to start phasing down Titanicus, I wouldn't be super hurt. Like, I would have loved for them to do Xenos stuff or something like that. But if you did Xenos Legion Imperialis instead in a couple of years, like, all right.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
They've pretty well stuck to their guns regarding heresy as the Imperium Mechanicum, the non-Xenos.
They have.
It's called Legion Imperialis.
You're really low.
It is called Legions Imperialis, is what Steven said, if Jesse can't bring that back up to a normal sound quality.
I refuse to.
Jesse refuses to.
I've got a counterpoint for you, Austin.
All right.
I think it'd be really easy to keep both game systems going in parallel, and just whenever they release new Titan weapons for Titanicus, they release new rules for them in Legions.
And I'd love that as well.
It's new content for both.
Yeah.
Same for new Titans or Corrupted Knights.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You could keep both going. I'm trying to see it like preparing my soul if in fact they do announce like next week, hey, because I think they have pulled a lot of the Titanicus stuff as temporarily unorderable, and I assume that's because it's all getting reboxed as Legion Imperialis instead of Adeptus Titanicus, which who knows? But you're right. It wouldn't be hard. I mean, even if it's not books, like formal books, it'd be very simple for them to be like, hey, just like we did Imperial Militia, we did rules for Reavers to have missiles and Legions Imperialis, so here's that card for Titanicus. Go forth and conquer. Again, I'd be maybe not happy if that's the outcome, but I'd be satisfied.
And even if they stop production of like rules for Titanicus, if they come out with, the Warlord boarding ram,
right?
I'm sure you can build an event around that.
Yeah, like I'm sure.
Oh God, I just thought about the War Master. What is the War Master going to look like in fucking Epic? Oh my God!
So I will say, it does look like this is being based somewhat on the original Epic or Epic Armageddon, like one of the pre-existing epics.
Yep. Or at least like a best of in a way.
Yeah. And if that is true, your big Titans, like your Warlords and Warlord Pluses, they're going to be able to murder the shit out of something. The problem is, like, they'll be able to murder the shit out of one thing, and then that's a third of your army.
Fair.
They've already said that this game is going to be alternating activations. There's going to be an orders system, which has been true for every version of Epic I think they've ever made. And if it's alternating activations, there's a huge advantage in being the person who has activations left at the end. So if you're bringing a Warlord Titan or an Imperator class Titan, like a War Master or whatever, you're going to be the one that runs that activations first, and you might have problems. Also, Titans historically kind of suffered an assault just because they have big stompy feet, and that's great. But if I have a sea of 200 guys with like grappling hooks and melta-bombs, you'll have a bad time eventually.
Fair. I guess I'm really curious to see how the survivability, like, I know they mentioned in the article that stuff is going to die super quick in this game, but I'm really curious to see just how that plays out with War Masters and Warlord Titans.
I mean, it was like that in regular Epic. Obviously, like a Warlord or something could handle some punishment. But, and again, haven't seen the actual rules yet. We've got some grainy photos, courtesy of Mike here, of like, hey, this is orders and they're a thing. But traditionally in Epic, you have no rolling to wound. You hit the guy, which is normally based off the weapon you're shooting. So like a las cannon will hit on like a 5-up or something. And then the guy just takes an armor save if he has one. And that's normally not super great. Like Space Marine stands had like a 4-up armor save. And that was mind-bogglingly good. Something like a Cataphractii Terminator or a Land Raider might have like a re-rollable 4-up. But that was it. So things do tend to die pretty quickly once you start putting fire on them.
Okay.
And like, Titans, you got Void Shields. They normally have a re-rollable save of whatever it is. But still, you can have a bad time. And they have also mentioned straight up that there are differences in weapons, which I think is a nod to the old system. Because the original Epics progressing back through time, there were anti-personnel, anti-vehicle weapons, and then macro weapons were like the 3 types. So if you had anti-personnel weapons, it can't do shit to vehicles. But conversely, if you have like a las cannon, it can't do shit to the infantry formations, because at this scale, it's like, yeah, you've got a las cannon. You've vaporized 1 solar auxiliaman. Nobody cares. And then, of course, some weapons had like dual profiles, like an auto cannon or something might have like, oh, you'll hit your infantry on 4s and the tanks on 6s or something like that. But for the most, like, I really enjoyed that in the original versions of Epic that I've played, because sometimes you were shit out of luck. Okay,
so your experience with the old editions is that stuff dies very quickly. They claim the same for this edition.
Mm-hmm.
So from the release, the preview event, we know that the starter box is designed such that you can run it as one big army or as 2 halves pitted against each other.
Huh.
How much of an actual army do you think this box constitutes?
So if we're going by Net Epic, which is the version I played, which is Epic Armageddon, that's got a little bit of rules tweaking, more for clarity than anything else, and a bunch of new army lists. The Hounds would be, I think, 500 points. The Predators are like 50 to 75 apiece, depending. Dreadnoughts are 50. Those infantry formations. So the infantry formations they show is a command stand, 4 stands of tactical Marines, so 20 Marines, and then 2 stands each of missile launchers and plasma, which would be your support and heavy weapons, which is a little smaller than the Space Marine detachments in original Epic. Space Marine detachments in original Epic were 6 stands of tactical Marines, and then you could add on like heavy weapon dudes or Terminators or whatever. So it's a little hard to judge. But if I had to take a guess, you're talking like 800 points of Marines. The Auxilia is way harder because there weren't any Malcadors or Solar Auxilia.
Sure.
So you're probably looking at, call it like 1,000 points aside if you broke them into 2 armies and like each of them got a Warhound.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking this box is intended to be.
Yeah. And Epic, again, Net Epic, which I'm most familiar with, Epic Armageddon, a standard game was 3K. Anything below 2K was kind of, you weren't really running everything, demo mission sort of thing.
Sure.
But what's most interesting to me is like the Solar Auxilia and the tactical, or like the Marine infantry formations look right. roughly. But they've got the dreadnoughts out on their own, and that used to be just upgrades for Marine infantry formations. And then for the tanks, you've got 3 Predators, which is about right for a Predator squadron. But the Russes, there's 4 Russes, and those used to come in packs of 10 because you buy the whole company. And then you could also bring platoons, which were 3 Russes. So I'm interested to see if that's still going to be a thing. I know they've said, hey, you're buying formations, just like original Epic Back Through Time, rather than like units. So you're not buying 20 tactical Marines. You're buying a Space Marine like company, which is what they have there. And they specifically said that each formation is roughly equivalent to a 40K army, or a 30K army, like a small one. So I don't know if they've like separated out the dreadnoughts just because they look cooler on their own, if that's going to be their own units, or what's happening there.
They might have, like, for the visual purposes, might have just like consolidated everything just so you can see what's actually in there without having to count real hard, I think. Would be my guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. And they have said that there'll be different formations. There'll be tons of different formations. So like, which seems to be kind of wider in scope than the old Epic armies. Because if you wanted like an Imperial Guard army, there's your Imperial Guard army. It had a little bit of everything. And if you wanted, hey, I want all of my infantry to be in Valkyries, you had to bring like the Elysian list and do all of that. But this seems, again, like reading through what they've said, reading through some of like Warhammer Community Games Workshop responses on social media, it seems like each formation will be able to be its own totally self-controlled thing. So you won't have to bring like, oh, I'm going to base my army off the flying Space Marines to make everybody fly. It's just, hey, you've got this formation of Space Marines. You want to stick them all in Thunderhawks? Just buy some Thunderhawks. Let's go. You want to bring all tanks in your army? Go do that, which is amazing.
I think that makes a lot of sense given Rights of War and 30K.
Yeah.
Like those 4 dreadnoughts might just be a Fury of the Ancients detachment.
Absolutely. God, that would be so fucking cool. Just all dreadnoughts in Legions Imperialis. Steven will never sleep.
I want all the dreadnoughts.
There we go.
Yeah.
Finally. Fuck.
Just a whole
We've been trying to
army
get
of
Steven
tiny
back on here
dreadnoughts.
for past 20 minutes. There we go.
Great.
All right.
Yeah, I
Cool.
I made a triumphant return when someone brought up dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm excited.
I'm
I'm excited to get my hand on that rule book.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's funny because obviously the internet being the cesspit that it is,
Of course.
naturally I've seen a lot of memes about plastic assault marines and plastic solar auxilia being like a day one drop for Legions Imperialis and still not out for 30K. It's fine, guys. Have more fun in smaller scales.
There are so many people angry about Epic because some people just are never satisfied. The number of people who think that Heresy hasn't had a, quote, complete 2.0 release is too damn high.
It's true.
Like, I don't know how to tell you
there's any
guys.
of them.
You can play the game.
Yeah.
The game is released.
But the funniest thing I've seen is on some of the 6mm Facebook groups. Obviously, this is big news.
Sure.
G-Dubs says that it's 8mm because a Marine is 8mm. But clever chaps on the internet have already kind of done the math, knowing the base sizes. And the Marines are 8mm, roughly.
All right.
And the Solar Oxys are true scaled to them. So they're like 6, maybe 7mm,
Interesting.
which is delightful. And
So the old Epic infantry, like the old guard models, will work fine with them.
I think all of the infantry for old Epic will work well. As anybody who's listened to me rant about Titanicus knows, smart people did the math. Titanicus, like the Titans in Titanicus, are 6.125mm. The infantry from Epic fits perfectly into their little back hatches. It's great. The problem for people with old Epic armies will come with the vehicles, because even though Epic was 6mm, the vehicles were always just scaled to what looks cool, which is why my Epic Warhounds are the size of my Titanicus Knights.
I thought you were going to say the bases are going to be the big problem for old Epic armies.
No, because the bases for this look right. They're on about 25mm bases. I think GW's confirmed that all this infantry is on 25mm bases. The tanks are
confirmed 28.
I'm sorry, 28. Yeah, the standard base size. The tanks are unbased, which is fine because Epic is always measured to the base, to the model for vehicles. So even like I'm planning on basing my tanks for this just because I don't want to have to get my grubby, drunken fingers all over my nicely painted models.
No, that's fair. I like everything looking uniform. So.
Yeah, and like it brings the army together a little bit.
Especially on such a small scale, it feels like it just works.
Yeah, it does tie in the models pretty good. Yeah.
GoblinsHut.com is the distributor for the Dirty Down paint line and other hobby products in North America. Dirty Down liquid effects and aging sprays have been used by prop masters in TV and film for over 30 years to create incredible realistic-looking effects in a fast, reliable way. They can be spotted in some of your favorite media such as Star Wars, Game of Thrones, and Alien, just to name a few. That precision has now been brought to the miniature realm and is taking the hobby by storm. In the Dirty Down line, you'll find rust, moss, and verdigris effects unlike anything else on the market. With a vigorous shake and a mix of a bottle, a single wash creates the combined effects of multiple other paints and even provides a subtle texture. Dirty Down's entire line is also water-soluble, so you can achieve a wide variety of effects, entirely reworking, removing, or layering to your heart's content to achieve the perfect weathered look. With this capability, the line is perfect for speed painting while also having the depth for use for competition pieces. If you'd like to buy Dirty Down at a shop near you, ask your friendly local game store to go to GoblinsHut.com for information on stocking it. You can also purchase it direct as well. Also, all listeners of the Remembrancers Retreat can get a 5% discount on your online order with the promo code RR30K. And patrons of the Remembrancers Retreat get 15% off their orders. Once again, that's GoblinsHut.com, home of the Dirty Down liquid effects.
But it's funny to watch these 6mm groups. There's like a firm divide of people that are like, oh, well, the minis aren't that great, and the rules probably suck, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, guys, one, they're like, oh, you got so much more in the old Epic. I'm like, yeah, you did. In the last Epic Armageddon box you got, you had something like 300-odd Marines, plus a bunch of other stuff. Mm-hmm. But those Marines, all of them were like 5 different poses. All of them. Every goddamn tactical Marine was a beaky in the traditional, like, low rest bolter stance. All of these
standing
guys,
at attention or standing at ease.
Yeah, that's why I use them as fucking statues on my AT terrain. These guys, like, I've been looking at it. All the Assault Marines are unique sculpts. All the Cataphracti are unique sculpts. 3 at least of the Plasma are unique sculpts. 3 or 4 of the missile guys are unique sculpts. Like,
there's a missile guy with an augury scanner.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
There's posing going on. It's delightful.
That's green.
Plus, it was a completely different economy 15 to 20 years ago.
Right?
20 years ago.
So I think these are beautiful. And there are people that are like, oh, well, you can just 3D print these. You, random person on the internet, probably can't. Just straight up, printing small scale things is very, very hard because if your printer leaves any lines at all on a 6mm tall model, it's not like on a 28 where it's like, oh yeah, you can sand it down a little bit and it just looks like texture. You've given the guy like a wicker suit, like
he's got to go deal with space bees. Leave him alone.
Not the bees, not the bees. So I think the models are great. I think GW did a little bit of a disservice by doing Death Guard and really dark solar oxys. I think if they'd gone for some, like maybe Emperor's Children and like the Ultramar cohort, or something a little brighter for the auxilia infantry, they'd pop a little more.
All I know is I can finally paint hazard stripes for my Iron Warriors in mass numbers.
And more importantly, so if this game turns out to be absolute not great, we have plastic tiny solar auxilia. You can still keep playing whatever version of Epic you've been playing for the last 15 years with the joys of brand new models. Or
it's true.
The game is good. And if the game is good, suddenly there's, a million nerds that have been playing 30K and probably some that have been playing 40K that are now like, oh, look, I can get these. That's cool. Let's try it out. That are suddenly into God's own scale. And that just makes my heart happy.
Then you're just one campaign hat away from playing 6mm Civil War.
God bless
American
it.
Civil War.
Any Civil War.
Any Civil War.
Any Civil War.
Civil Wars in general.
Yeah. Horus Heresy, English, American. All Civil Wars are better in 6mm. You heard it here first.
I'll tell you what I'm excited for.
Yeah.
And that's the I had this realization the other day while we were hanging out with Jared. But we're gonna get an Imperator. We're gonna get an Imperator kit. No one can convince me otherwise. We're gonna get it. I see you making that face.
A year and a half ago, you were saying, "There's no way it's gonna be a fucking plastic Spartan."
I said we're not gonna get.
I will
Imperator
mow.
in
Did you mow
Titanicus.
Jared's lawn, by the way?
Shut up, Jesse.
Okay.
Jared, make this man mow your lawn.
Also, can
An
we pause Steven for a second? The little Solar Auxilia command squad has a guy with a telescope and a little reports tray.
Oh, son of a bitch!
Yeah. It's just a scaling down of the Solar Auxilia command squad kit.
I know.
6mm.
It's beautiful.
Welcome to computers.
Yeah,
Do love it.
That.
the future is now.
I am dying to see
Those little Solar Auxies.
I am dying to see the plastic sprues, especially for the vehicles. I'm really curious how these are put together.
Yeah.
Because I know, in the previous, in the real old stuff, the Rhino was practically one piece.
No, they got it.
I know the Land Raiders had a few pieces.
So the most recent quote unquote for Epic, the Predators were a Predator like the ones they've shown pictured here with the dozer blade would have been 5 pieces. The center would be 1 piece, turret, both tracks, and then the various dozer blades. I would guess these, just because of the way model design has progressed. Let me see if I can find. There's the vehicles. I would guess these are going to be 1, maybe 2 pieces for the central hull. They might do a top and bottom thing.
Sure. Or left and right.
Yeah, or left and right. The tracks are probably separate pieces. And then the sponson. Well, by track, I mean that whole side.
Okay. We're talking about the scare.
The flank.
Yeah, the flanks are different pieces.
Okay.
And then it looks like the sponson weapons are a separate piece, and then the turret and possibly the actual weapon on the turret is a separate piece. And then the dozer blade be a separate
because
piece. So,
I'm thinking now back to Aeronautica Imperialis, where good God,
yeah, you could have.
They were not shy to take all those missiles and take them separately.
There's a little tank commander.
I saw that they have
I take it back. That turret's going to be 3 pieces because it's going to be the actual main turret, the hatch with or without Homeboy, and then the weapon. God, that's good.
They mentioned that the tanks come with either a commander. Well, they said driver, but I'm assuming it's tank commander. I don't know tank.
Brits
law.
have weird rules for
they
things too.
Either a gunner or a commander, or they keep saying pilot, but I don't know. Anyway, driver, gunner, so that'd be 2 options for the hatch.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Love to see all of it. Same thing for the Sikarin.
Can't help but notice that the plasma Sikarin has a different design than the plasma Sikarin that we already know and love.
With the Volkite horizontal instead of vertical?
Huh.
Yeah.
We still haven't seen the plastic version of it either. So
Interesting. Although things have been put together wrong before. But I do like the side. I like the side profile better, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, I almost wonder if the Sikarin kit is going to come with the turret without any guns on it, as a separate bit, and then you snip each gun off and put it on the side.
I'm almost positive that's how it's going to work.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
It'd be really nice if it was all one turret that you can exchange.
Yeah.
It'd be real nice. If
I need
that
to
was the
lose.
case, but
I need to lose all of my connection joints, all that detail, in a big blob of Citadel plastic glue.
Yeah, but it just, and like the dreadnoughts, you can get a carries assault cannon, you can get a little las cannon on there. A little power
Look
fist.
at 'em go.
Look at them go, causing their little war crimes. And
Fury of the Ancients is going to rock so much.
different poses.
I'd be shocked if those things weren't posable.
Actually, they might be, because I've got, like, looking at the picture.
I don't know. The two in the back look very similar. And
No, there's one with the right foot forward, one with the left foot forward, one
I stand
that's
corrected.
just standing there.
I suspect they're going to be similar to the 18 Knights. In how
Yeah, with the leg joints,
together. Yeah.
which is great.
maybe it's
So
top and
again-
bottom.
Arms on ball joints. We can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the old dreadnoughts, if I remember right, were 5 pieces, like each arm and each leg. Might have been 6. They might have had a waist joint. They were such a pain in the ass to put together. Little metal bastards.
Not gonna lie, that sounds awful.
But the infantry will be all one piece.
Yeah.
I can confirm that.
Yep.
Well, not confirm that, but I'd be astonished. Maybe like your banner bearer is more than one piece. Or
You don't think
those
they're gonna have different
Carnadite.
heavy weapon options?
No, but you can get little
Slide
guys with
weapons.
axes. Look at those little homeboys with axes. It's amazing.
They do look good.
But when they inevitably come out with rapier platforms, I wouldn't be surprised if you can slot in the different weapons for them.
Yeah. That would make sense. Figure
But
2 pieces for the carriage, 1 for the weapon.
But I do think what we're seeing here is at least sprue design, right? Like those Russes are going to come 4 to a sprue. The Predators are going to be 3 to a sprue. The Dreadnoughts 4 to a sprue. The infantry sprues, again, kind of following the old epic infantry sprues, are kind of like, hey, half of this is basic infantry, and then there's some assault marines, some other cool stuff running around, which is awesome. Ooh, and Terminators.
So
God,
we're,
this is-
we're thinking 4 Lehman Russ for like half-size sprue or full-size sprue.
I think a full-size sprue. I would be a little surprised if GW's putting half of a sprue in there. Whether that's a whole box or not, different thoughts. Although I guess they could be 2 to a sprue, and you just get 2 sprues of them.
I feel like it'd be real small, but it's hard to say. I think
But I
4 to a
don't-
sprue
yeah,
is probably the key.
because I don't-
probably there.
I don't see you needing that for the Oxys, because like there's no sponson weapons. So unless they're literally giving you all like 8 turret variants of the Russ, that would be a real small sprue.
Yeah, because
It'd be
I'm
really cool if they did that, though.
It
I'm
would
kind
be.
of basing my theories based on the Aeronautica Imperialis sprues.
Right.
That's about basically all we have to go on.
Yeah.
Austin, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
How in the older editions of Epic were different versions of the same army presented? So, like in effect, how do you think Legion rules are going to be represented in this?
So that's what's kind of fascinating, because in old Epic, the answer was it was purely in the formations. You'd have kind of core, every army would have core formations, support formations, and then allied formations. And allied formations were things like Titans or aircraft, right? And then for every core formation, you could have a certain number, 2 or 3 support formations. So it'd be like, oh, hey, you're playing a Space Marine company or a Space Marine list. Your core formations are, 4 Terminator stands, 6 tactical stands, 6 Assault Marine stands. And then each
Right.
of those would get you, hey, you got a stand of Tactical Marines. You can upgrade that a little bit with Devastators or whatever. Or you could take a Devastator squad or a Predator squadron or whatever. And so the specificity kind of came into, hey, Blood Angels take bigger Assault Marine formations, and they're
So for the
really
most part,
wasn't.
everybody's like
Everybody's
from Termin-
stats in the fighting was identical, absolutely identical. It was all how you were building the lists.
So was it like Ultramarines and Imperial Fists? Here's your Terminators.
They did not get separate
Space
armies.
Wolves. Space Wolves. If you're playing a Space Wolf army, did you have access to Wolf Guard in some way, shape, or form?
So the Space Wolf list, and I may be going off the reservation into like one of the Net EA fan made lists. I don't remember where the Space Wolves fell in this. But Space Wolves, their core formations tended to be bigger because they were like that's a Space Wolf thing, right? We kind of have bigger squads and in 40K than most people.
Just like Texas, everything's bigger in Juan Fenris.
That's true, including
They
the
have dumber
Wolves,
gun laws,
which we
too.
totally have. But like, then they called them like, oh, hey, you can get, Wolf Guard Terminators, and there were your Wolf Guard Terminators, but they were exactly the same as everybody else's Terminators, right?
I see. They were just called something different for the sake of calling it different.
And it was a little bit different in like the mix and match. Like you could have
So like Black Templars, Blood Angels, the Codex non-compliance, the famous Codex non-compliances didn't have like particular formations that they could field compared to everybody else.
Not usually. It was funny because you actually had, I think it was Iron Knights got their own list, and that was the. Hold on. I'm trying to find the lists. Yeah. So what we had, and again, like they were Scions of Iron. That's who they were. That was the all tank list. White Scars had. You can have your land speeder detachments were core detachments rather than just being support formations. Blood Angels. Hey, you can have like Death Company, which you can have a max of 1 Death Company, right? Like it just wasn't a whole lot of stuff going on that was different for any of these. And even the Death Company units, I think, were just like assault marines that were like +1 to hit. Not a lot of variation. The variation comes in the way you're building the army. So that's what's exciting for me for Legion stuff, because it seems from what GW was saying that everybody will be able to build, because Rights of War, right? You can build identical armies for all of these formations. So where's the individual flavor coming from? I don't know, but I'm excited to find out.
I'm sure we'll get... Well, actually, I'm not even certain that we will. I was going to say, I'm sure we'll get a Primarch and Retinue formation, but then, will everybody's Primarch just be the same? I guess Horus... The difference between Horus and Lorgar at 6mm is...
probably still shattering.
Maybe Lorgar was a bad.
Yeah.
Maybe Lorgar was a bad.
The difference between Vulcan and Angron.
Yeah, at 6mm probably won't matter as much.
Yeah, and of course they weren't a thing in traditional Epic.
Ooh, I am curious about what the potential resin models for this will come out.
God,
probably Primarchs, tiny itty bitty 6mm.
I could see a loyalist pack and a traitor pack of all the Primarchs in one go.
Last Nova, they did say that they were going to be releasing new sculpts of all the Primarchs.
That would be amazing. That is a good point. That's what they did.
Funny.
We told you. We told you.
We promised it, and we delivered. Here we go.
Have mercy.
I will say, though, I am looking forward to sculpting a lot of fur onto these Terminators.
I really am curious to see what they're going to do, if at all, with loyalist or Legion specific units.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where at this scale, most Legion specific units are just a paint job, right? That's it.
True.
So they might have something like, hey, you can upgrade a unit to veterancy, and that'll cover. So you can have veteran assault marines that are all the various special snowflake assault marines, because when you're fielding 100 of them at a time, the difference between a Raven Guard assault marine and a Blood Angel assault marine is nothing.
Fair.
You know what else I'm curious about?
Yeah.
The Aethon Heavy Sentinel.
Yeah.
What a delightful segue.
It's like a Sentinel, but heavier.
She is a big bitch.
Yeah.
She looks
Almost getting Mech Warrior vibes off of it. Right?
Yeah, so it looks about like, judging from like the Russes and the Contemptors, Leviathan dreadnought sized,
Yeah, I think you're right.
but not in like roughly. It might be a little taller and a little less wide. But yeah, she's big. She's
like
got
multi-laser and missiles.
yeah, it's an armored cockpit that's kind of reminiscent of the old box dread cockpit,
Oh yeah.
which is a delight.
The first thing I thought of when I saw it was the original like Lucifer dreadnoughts with like the kind of two barrel bodied segment.
Yeah. I didn't make that connection, but now I'm seeing it for sure.
I'm always seeing dreadnoughts.
Yeah, but like a center line, like carapace mounted multi laser, and then to either side of that, rocket pods. And they're just apparently the things that beat the shit out of people ahead of the main Solar Oxy Force with multi lasers and missile launchers. They're fun looking. I can't wait to see these in 28 mil.
Right?
Yeah, that'll be cool.
That's got to be coming. So I'm looking forward to it.
And I will say, so we've got plastic Solar Oxys. We've got a whole new Solar Oxy unit out of this.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed we get plastic Solar Oxys soon in 28 as well.
It's
Christmas
looking a
time.
lot more likely, I think, because they were saying a new plastic army later this year.
It would be a
It'll
great
either be
Christmas
that or
release.
demons.
I wasn't thinking it was going to be Solar Ox, but after seeing this, I'm thinking I might be wrong.
I really hope you are.
You know, of all the people that are a little salty about the release of a new Epic as it pertains to their chosen game system, I do have to shed a single solitary tear for people who wanted to play Aeronautica Imperialis and were waiting on the Chaos Air Force and never got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
one out.
Aeronautica like literally got folded into a whole nother game before Chaos got models.
yeah, I gotta say, while I'm not losing hope that Titanicus is done. Like I think there's still a decent chance we'll at least get weapon upgrades. You might get another book or two before it's settled. Aeronautica, I feel, has been
Really
repackaged.
feels like a lost Steam.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, let's see. Titanicus came out in 2018, so it had a 5-year run.
Mhm.
Aeronautica came out, I think, around the same time, maybe a year earlier.
Titanicus came out last month. It did not come out 5 years ago. Shut up.
Titanicus
It
came
was
out
5
in
years ago.
2018.
No.
Yeah.
Because it took
Titanicus
me 4
came
years
out
to get
before the
my
plague.
starter box painted.
Yeah.
Fair.
Titanicus was before NurgleCon, and I'm fairly
Oh
certain
boy.
that Aeronautica was before that. So in the
I
the
don't
6
think-
years
I
that
think Aeronautica
Aeronautica's
was a
been
year
up and
later.
about.
Yeah, Aeronautica was a year later.
But still,
okay.
it's been like
Well,
2
time
years
is
since they
fate.
got anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Titanicus got almost 3 times the releases in the same window that Aeronautica got.
Yeah. I mean, the last Aeronautica thing wasn't even new stuff. It was, hey, you can play it in Heresy now, which is cool, and I don't mind
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But
I
it
got my book.
came with no new models.
It was cool. It compiled some rules well, but no new models, no box. Yeah.
Yeah. Good night.
You're on your
Sweet
own,
So
kid.
So to you,
Send in
Chaos
the
players
clowns.
waiting on your Hell Talon and your Hell Blade and your Wolf or whatever have you, we
Yeah.
feel you. We're
Although-
pouring one out for you right now.
I am not. I'm drinking mine. It's a glorious day.
Well,
I'm looking
I
at the
didn't
Tiny
like
Lehman
mine, so I'm
Russes
pouring it
now,
out.
and the Tiny Lehman Russ has a guy on top with what looks like an autocannon,
Yeah.
and the hull-mounted weapons are different. There's a las cannon and a heavy bolter,
Oh, you're right.
which is fucking awesome.
God, I'm going to lose so many tiny guns putting these together.
And well, so the best thing about this for me is Like I do
Blood
a lot of
tweezers.
AT terrain, right? And I like a lot of obscure AT stuff.
Yeah.
And this entire box is just filled with little things that I can stick on to other models to give it the right sense of scale. Like there's going to be
That's
so
true.
many spare like las cannons and heavy bolters and just like tiny things running
And
around.
tank-sized train. Just entire whole convoy made of decommissioned Russes.
I cannot fucking wait. Although I am kind of astonished there are no rhinos in this set.
That is a little surprising,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Maybe they wanted to showcase like some real fun shit first.
Yeah, they want you to have everybody has a gun, right, in the starter
Yeah,
set.
they didn't want to waste space on transports.
I mean, when's the last time we've seen a rhino in any box set?
Well, so that's the fun thing. Because if we move over to the
We got a
rules,
Spartan in a box
Oh, God,
set
here we go.
before we get
The
the
rules.
Rhino.
with the rules, which we know nothing about, except a piece of the reference sheet. So you have orders, and they're apparently hidden orders, which is a throwback to
Enhanced.
second edition. But it seems to have all the standard orders of Epic, which is, or if you've played the latest Apocalypse, same basic concept. Your orders are first fire, which is just sort of you stay put, you shoot extra good. The advance order, which is kind of your standard, you can move a thing and then shoot a thing. A march order, where you just go super far.
Yep.
Charge order, where you engage in assault, and then there's fallback, which you have a bad time. There's also a little separate box for Overwatch, which I don't know if that means Overwatch is kind of like an advanced rule that everybody will play with because it's amazing, or if it's some subsection of any of these orders.
You think we'll keep reactions?
I don't think so.
I don't think so because it's alternating activation. So reactions matter less. But that's what Overwatch was good for, is you could put a unit on Overwatch and then at any point in an opponent's activation, you could say, and now these guys are going to shoot at you. Ha
Well, that's how Overwatch works in 40k now. You can do it in the movement phase.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Delightful.
How about that?
Look at them go.
Yeah,
for them.
I'm just playing XCOM now.
But the reason I say it's weird that rhinos aren't here is because like in 30K and 40K, the table is too small for unarmed transports, really, right? Like
Fair.
yeah.
it gets you, and like Heresy 2.0 is much, much better because your rhino is appreciably faster than the guys getting out and walking. But in Epic, like, again, just using old Epic for an example, infantry moved 15 centimeters a turn or an activation. So the furthest an infantry unit could go, if it didn't shoot at all, was 45 centimeters. Not
Ooh, they're moving
40
back to inches on this. I just realized.
thank God. I don't want to. But
they
the
got the
rhinos,
They got
the
the
rhinos based 30 centimeters, which means they could go a max of 90, which is like across the board
right.
if you really want to. So there was like a significant value in having mounted troops, even if it is just a rhino that doesn't shoot back, to just fly across the table.
I remember.
I hope this
you showed me
keeps
like
that.
the first demo game. I think it was like NetEA or something. And
Yeah, that's
didn't play a lot of it, but I just remember really blown away by how quickly the units would move around the field.
Oh yeah, it's a standard 4x6 table, and everything is going faster than their 28 millimeter equivalents.
Yeah,
like the
Do
ranges
you
are.
think that do you think that new Epic is going to keep using the 4x6 like Heresy 2.0 does?
Oh,
That's an interesting question because GW, all of their other games seem to be going away from the 4x6.
yeah.
Right? Like,
But
it's
I've always
kind of-
felt that the 4x4 was just a little bit too small for Titanicus. I would like bigger Titanicus tables.
I
But I
would,
don't know if a 4x6 is really all that necessary.
my guess is that it'll be the 4x6 because it's supposed to be for heresy people, so we like our 4x6s, right?
Yeah,
Kind of
it's under the
grognardy.
Horus Heresy banner.
But I would also,
We'll keep that DNA.
I think, enjoy it if it went to the 40K table standard, which is like,
Like kitchen table sized.
yeah, But I will say,
would
because
too.
everything moves so fast, you do kind of need that 4x6 for elbow room.
If they move that fast, remember we have 12-inch
Slow 'em down.
whippy sticks back. So
You know, and
Why not? Maybe
it's a question of
Are they 12-inch?
and it's a question of are we
I'm
going to
assuming they are.
need? And you have to wonder: are we going to need like off-board materials like command terminals?
I would assume not.
Probably
hope
not. You might need it for like your aircraft if they aren't persistent on the table, which they traditionally aren't in Epic. Or if you've got a spaceship in orbit, it's cool to have a BFG ship just hanging out doing
Oh
things.
fuck yeah! I can put a
'Cause you're supposed
BFG
to-
ship on a thing.
Because you were supposed to measure from, like in old Epic, you would actually pre-plot your bombardment coordinates and the turn that the bombardment was happening, and you'd have to plot it in 180 centimeters up and 40 centimeters over from wherever you put the ship.
oh my god, really?
Oh, it was
That's
glorious.
amazing. That is
It was
amazing.
Fantastic. I want to do it.
Yeah, and then it would just drop like a large pie plate of absolute death. But you had to guess right, because if you had like a battle barge for like really big guns, it just couldn't arrive on turn one. So, the other guy scatters, and you got to try and pick where his shit's coming in.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
it was so good. Yeah,
Yeah, I did notice that templates are still there. Big
Scattered
large
eye.
egg fire.
Scattered Eye still there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the fire template is interesting because that's not a
it's
thing
for
in
hounds.
Epic.
Yeah,
It's for Titan.
But I guess it is for the Warhounds, yeah.
Or Malcadoran furnaces.
Because in
Mechanicum
old
with their rad shit.
Epic, again, like the standard version, you couldn't get, like, you bought a Warhound and every Warhound came with Plasma and Mega Bolter, and that was the end of the world. They messed with it a little bit in NetEA when you could bring like Titan Legions, whatever, but every Titan had its like stock loadout, and that's just what you brought on it.
Gotcha.
So there weren't any big ass flamers, but God, I do love a big ass flamer. And look at that would roast this entire fucking company of Marines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Half your army
Which,
just
I gotta say, is another beautiful reason to set this in the 30K time period, because in 40K, like my Space Wolf army or my regular Marine army,
you just lost half the damn chapter.
I'd routinely, like my buddy played Salamanders, and his army list was like 300 individual Salamanders, and like if I annihilated him, I'm like, bro, your chapter goes into mourning for like a fucking century over this battle. Like,
Yeah.
you lose a couple of these, and you've extincted the Salamanders.
Oops.
Yeah. Fair.
Like
You
that's
hate to
one of
see
the
it,
reasons
or you love to see it.
I did a Marine army based on the 13th Black Crusade, and each formation was a different chapter, so that when I did get annihilated, it was just like the Emperor deeply regrets that you've lost 20 Marines in this fight, rather
Man,
than
I
your
really
whole
hope that-
chapter.
I like that.
I almost hope that we don't have super granular Legion rules, because it has always been something of a hobby dream of mine from 6th edition, when I didn't have Legion rules for Chaos Marines, to just do an army of a bunch of different chapters, or legions, as it were. So that would be
And
fun.
also, Beaky Marines. The tactical, like everybody who's not in Cataphracti armor is in Mark 6, which is lovely, because if you do want to take this into like the Scouring or War of the False Primarch or something like that, your boys are all in Mark 6. You go do your thing.
You've got
I
all
almost
your
wonder if we're
inductee
gonna
just
get-
ready to throw against the walls.
I might.
Almost wonder if the resin models we're going to get are going to be the other armor marks. Like we get
That would
Mark
be
6 in
cool.
plastic, but the way to go backwards to 5, 4, 3, 2.
Yeah.
In resin.
Or like if you want some Tartaros Terminators,
Very
resin
cool.
tarts. Yeah.
Very cool. I still want an Imperator Titan. It was the centerpiece thing that I saw for Epic and made me want to play Epic, but I was too young. I didn't have any money. So Imperator Titan, it lives in my brain forever.
I have my doubts.
Give it to me!
I'd love to see it. I have my doubts.
Yeah, so here's the part I was looking for: flexible army building. So everybody has formations, like I've talked about previously, and it says the Age of Darkness. Each formation is essentially an entire Horus Heresy army, giving you lots of freedom on how you build your force. Want a Legions of Astartes army mounted entirely in gunships for an aerial assault? You can do that. Solar Auxilia, super heavy tank company. Yes, sir. You can do all of it, which is in keeping with old Epic of yore. And it just like I've done that.
time.
I've rolled the Minervian Tank Legion, and it was just 30 Lehman Russes, 9 Bane Blades, 9 Basilisks, some Sentinels for fun. Come at me. And the
So which
crazy
legion
thing
are you
is,
going to do for this one?
balanced list. I'm going to do Space Wolves because I'm terminally incapable of painting another legion.
That's the same way with me. It's going to be Dark Angels all the way.
Unless somebody can talk me into doing some more of the false Primarch stuff, in which case I might have to take a couple. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same.
Wormwood Sons, you say? Wormwood
Yeah.
Sons?
I could do a Muppet Startle Guard. That'd be cool.
But I think
So
for me
I
personally,
gotta say, I am ignorant of this War of the False Primarch. That's going to have to be another episode you're going to have to make as a bonus episode, Austin. Tell me about that, because I'm kind of
we'll talk about War of the False Primarch.
We can do that.
Steven and I and Mike maybe we'll have a little mini episode here coming up. But I will say
Give me a heads up and I'll take some notes.
personally, just because of I want a Space Wolf army that reflects my 2.0 Space Wolf army, which is all Cataphracti and bikes. So as the Treadhead mortal that I am, I think I'm going to be looking for someone to split the box or to swap boxes and just get their Solar Auxilia.
Oh man, I just thought about this. Okay. Night houses.
Yes.
Oh, night houses are going to be so much fun.
Yes. Austin.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for you. How feasible is it that there will ever be Epic Zone Mortalis?
I can only guess not, because the scale, not in the sense that you're fighting through a spaceship or something.
Yeah.
Here it is. It's just not built for that kind of action. If it's hey, here's a death world, here's some rules for just everything fucking murders you, I think that's pretty likely. I would say that's a high probability thing.
Okay, well, if I'm not fighting on spaceships, then I have zero interest in the mortals.
Hooray!
Yeah, there you go.
I got more mortals. Because I tell you what, bro, I'll just tiny Lehman Russes. They make me so happy. And tiny Malkadors, those tiny look how adorable they are. Look at them. Look at them with their little limited traverse battle cannon. Yeah.
Slight correction. I have no interest in mortals beyond the tanks I already have for my Survivors of Talarn.
Yeah. And you want to do a cool...
Let's play Talarn!
You could absolutely, based on old Epic and what they're saying here, you could absolutely play a Talarn game with completely 100% legal lists and just go with it. And I will say that was the beautiful thing about Epic, is it's kind of like AT, only I feel more so in that there isn't really a bad way to build your list. You can build that Tank Legion list I told you that's just nothing but super heavies and Lehman Russes and Basilisks that literally sit a mile away and murder things from a distance. That can go up against anything. And it's a pretty fair fight because tanks, you need anti-tank weapons to shoot at them. But in assault, if you can actually get into base to base, there was a thing called firefight value, which is essentially what you were rolling if you were playing a assault out, firefight and close combat value. And the close combat value for tanks is dog shit.
Right.
So the trick was against a tank list or against Titans, you'd actually run up and punch them and they just died. So all the lists tended to be very well balanced, even if you were skewed to all tanks or all infantry or something like that. So hopefully that carries over into this. And again, even if it doesn't, even worst case scenario, the models are great. The starter boxes are always good deals.
Mm-hmm.
Just buy a shit ton of them. We'll play Net EA together, bro. It's fine.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I just remembered. I have a whole Epic Eldar army sitting in a box.
Oh no.
All stocks and space elves.
Wraithguard, let's go.
Great Crusade, baby. Let's go purge some space elves.
I'm here for it.
That sounds like a good time to wrap things up, unless we have anything else that we want to talk about.
I mean, I could keep going for
I do have one
another
more
2-3 hours. Yeah.
Well,
I'm looking at the Legions Imperialis website that launched today. And they are showing the Warhounds from the box with the lasers, bolter, and plasma weapons. So I wonder if they're going to have that sprue as well.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Because not the ones that they show on the other main picture, but
Right.
although part of me wonders if this is just the stock Warhound picture that they have for Titanicus.
Possible.
I think that might be the case.
Possible.
But did we talk about the low profile bases? I don't think we did.
Yeah. No, that's a new thing. Yeah. Go for it, Jesse.
They're shorter, but they're the same size. That's all I have to say. Oh, and they're molded onto the. They got details. They're not just the flat black bases.
They've got details, so you can just paint them and go, which sounds great to me.
Appreciate that.
I don't know if I'll use them just because all
The details
6mm
also-
stuff I already have is already on the tall bases, but
Yeah, and I will say the detail also isn't like sticking up; it's all inside. So if you
Recessed,
if you did want to because it's all like city fight kind of terrain. So if you wanted to do them in the desert or whatever, it's a simple fix. This does bring me to another lovely point, though, in that all of the Marines aren't on those little round circles anymore.
I noticed it looked like they're sort of like still sort of like pegs, but not quite.
Yeah, they've got a little bit of plastic, which is looking like kind of tactical rock-ish in between their legs, presumably just to give you something to glue that's not feet.
yeah.
Tiny 1
Which is
millimeter
appreciated.
feet.
Yeah.
Although I can't say this enough, boys and girls, fingernail glue. It'll hold those tiny feet down if you want to get rid of those little tactical rocks. But it's great because it doesn't look like the bases are like inset at all. Because in the old Epic, you had either the square bases, the rectangular bases, and they had little holes drilled like set into them for the little round bases your models were molded onto.
See,
So you were
kind
kind of stuck in the one formation for everybody.
I kind of assumed they were recessed.
No,
At
because you can
at least for the infantry.
look at the cataphracti, though. Look at how the cataphracti are standing. Like they're obviously above
Enhance.
like the base
Enhance.
itself.
Okay. Hang on. I can't.
And you can tell that some of the tactical Marines are on the same bases, but they're not in the same positions. And the
Okay,
same thing for the
okay.
assault Marines. They're not in the same positions on the base as the Terminators.
I follow you now. And yes, okay. I'm not 100% sure for like some of them, like the command squad. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards your
But I tell you, I could also do like when these come out, we're gonna have like a mini episode where I talk to people about painting tiny models.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Because it is
We can
one
do it while I paint tiny models.
stupid easy, and two,
Contrast paint, baby.
you got to take a slightly different approach to 28 mils, or else they'll look dumb. But it is really, really easy. It'll be fine. So if you're looking at these being like, fuck, how am I supposed to paint something that's as tall as my pinky nail? The answer is I can do 230 of them in about 3 hours. Not that big a deal. You'll have this whole box painted up quicker than a 20-man squad of tactical Marines.
Does that command squad guy have a great big old Volkite pistol?
He
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
He
Pretty
does.
dope. That's pretty dope.
Also, they come with a bunch of transfers.
Yeah.
And it looks
Yeah.
like some of them are infantry transfers, which is a delight.
I wanted to ask if
While-
anyone on here recognized the transfers from that blurry picture.
Yes, it looks to me. Where did it go? Some of them are just the traditional Titanicus stuff. Some of them are Sons of Horus. It looks like Imperial Fists. But possibly some other stuff. So there's some solar oxys. There's numbers.
Yeah, some generic ox numbers for your tanks, I suppose.
Yeah. But there's also a whole section in between like the Imperial fists and the big Titanicus symbols that are very, very tiny. And I would love for them to be like little things to go on your Cataphractii shoulder pads. But again, I can't stress this enough. I've done chapter symbols and squad markings on 6mm stuff. It's very, very easy. We'll get you through come the day.
Yeah, at that size, I'm not opposed to doing some hand painting stuff.
Yeah, honestly, freehand for this is so much easier than freehand for 28s.
I just noticed a fun little feature on the Imperialis rulebook cover. On the bottom left, it has epic scale as a little icon. That's kind of neat.
I noticed that. I think that's going to be really handy just with that plastered on all the boxes.
That's true, too.
So
that's
nobody
what they're getting
thinks,
into.
oh, hey, this box of 2 Sicarins is so much smaller than the box of 1.
It's so much cheaper.
Yeah.
Well,
because they did put the 28. They did put the 28 mil stuff on the cover, so they want to make sure.
I would. I just found something interesting on the Legiones or on the Legion Imperialis website. There's an entire timeline for the heresy.
Yeah. No, that's the whole the Horus Heresy website itself. Yes,
it has when they discovered the missing Primarchs and everything.
So the Legion's Imperialis website is a subsite off of the Horus Heresy website.
Yes.
So delightful.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It is actually pretty cool. They got a little galaxy map and everything. It's actually really neat.
Oh, and I do have one more thing that just popped into my head.
Yeah.
Pocket K. There are people. So there was a guy many, many moons ago. I think this was like 4th edition 40K that took epic models and glued them onto tiny magnets and then magnetized a little fold-up box that was maybe like 8 inches aside, right? Like a tablet-sized thing that folded up and unfolded and had a little bit of like, I think he took like sheet metal to do a little bit of terrain.
Sure.
And changed all of the inches to centimeters or possibly millimeters. Yeah, I think that's what it was. It was 6 inches was like 1 centimeter. And you can play, and he played 40K on this little tiny travel game.
Nice.
You could like play it on the airplane.
I do like that.
So if you have no interest at all in playing Legions of Astartes, but do like the idea of playing 30K on the go,
exponentially harder,
right? That's an option.
You just push your models around for toothpick,
right? But again, hey, I fly to Los Angeles, man. I need something to do for 6 hours.
It's fair.
Next time you drive out to Adepticon, Jesse, could you, people in the back seat just playing 30K.
Yeah.
I think what my favorite part about this scale is that apart from the Titans, it frees me from the eternal and ever-present burden of converting models.
Oh, my sweet summer child.
I don't have to make every tactical Marine a character.
Oh,
get thee behind me, Satan!
Oh, Steven.
No!
We're gonna have we're gonna have words.
My time! I'm melting into a puddle like the
my Space Wolf army. Every single model was converted, Steven, and God grant because they needed a lot of
child though.
Your daughter will be fine. And again, stupid easy. We'll get you there.
I just want to take something out of the box and build it and be happy with it.
Well,
I'm
here to ruin your happiness, Steven.
I spent my whole day reposing Erebus today.
Erebus, what a fucking waste.
You won't be so mad when he's winning you doubles games.
Well, it sure as shit isn't going to be my army.
All right. Now
anyway, you got to cut me off, Jesse. You got to cut me off.
Well, this has been fun. This has been exciting. I'm looking forward to this. And to all of our listeners, thanks again for listening to our program. If you want to support us and listen to these episodes a week early in advance, you can do so for just $1.50 an episode at a minimum at RR30K Podcast, patreon.com/RR30K Podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. You can follow us on TikTok. Will has taken the TikTok, and he is now posting memes. God bless him. And that's all I have for tonight. This has been a lot of fun, and I'm sure we will talk about more of Imperialis, Legions Imperialis, here in the future.
Oh, they do ruin buildings now.
Next-
God.
Next
yeah.
month, as a matter of fact.
Next
We'll
month.
be talking.
We'll be-
Next episode. Maybe or next
In
episode we
under
record.
30 days.
We might need to have like a 10-minute section at the beginning of all of our upcoming episodes where we just talk about whatever new news there is about it. Because I'm
10
expecting
minutes.
a steady stream.
Right.
I don't
10
have
minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah, Jesse will
All
need
right.
to keep a timer on me.
I can get a timer.
Once again, thanks for listening to our program. Bye.